What up, witches, and welcome to Witchin and Bitchin podcast. I'm your host, Darren.
And I'm Vicky. How are you all today? I hope you are really, really, really well.
I hope they're not.
Oh,
just because you're like, I hope you're really well.
I
So
know.
that they can say, aha, I'm not.
I'm not. No, I'm not going to be just because you said
Yeah.
it.
So, what are we talking about today, Vicky?
Well, if you could actually see the visual of Darren, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you would
It's a
probably
sight to
get
be
a bit.
seen.
It is. You would possibly get a bit of a visual cue as to what we're talking about, as he is wearing a lot of symbols and different things like that. So
Lots
on
of
that,
symbols.
yeah, we're talking about different symbols
Yes.
that are often used, perhaps with protection, or symbols that are often just seen. We're going to break them down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're focusing mainly on symbols of protection,
Yeah.
but they obviously they have other purposes too. But
That's it.
these are widely used as protective symbols, just because. Why did we decide to do this topic? I don't even remember
I
why
don't
we
really
decided to
know.
do this. I think
No.
it was just one of those ones
One
that we
of-
were talking about something, and then we wrote it
Yeah.
down, and we
Yeah,
thought,
and
oh,
then
we'll
it
do
just
a
came along that way. We'll just do it. So
yeah.
I
Okay,
think
cool.
so.
So I guess we'll jump straight into it then, shall we?
Yeah, I reckon we
So
should.
probably you guys will know that one of the most commonly or widely accepted symbols of the witch is actually the pentagram.
Yes.
So
definitely.
let's start off with some fun facts of the
Oh,
pentagram.
we've got
So
a dazzle and fizzle fun fact.
well, I mean, I don't know if there's so
I
much
love
fun
it.
facts, but it's what it symbolizes. So
is.
for me, they are.
Yeah.
So it's widely accepted that the 5 points on the star actually represent the 4 elements plus spirit. So the 5
Yep.
elements. So if you go earth, air, water, fire, and spirit.
Yep.
I know I said them in a really backwards order, but that's okay.
That's okay.
But anyway, so it symbolizes the 4 elements plus spirit. Also, it's the 5 senses. So if you're thinking, what senses? As in, you have the sense of touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the 6th sense is obviously. No, I'm just kidding. It's the 5 physical senses that we're talking about.
Yeah.
One thing that some people didn't know is it's actually the human form as well.
Yes.
So it's like, was it Leonardo da Vinci that painted the person? So where the arms are outstretched, the legs are outstretched like a triangle, and then the head is at the top. So it's basically symbolic of a person. And it's commonly used by witches as a gateway or portal, but equally we can use it to banish.
Yes, that's right.
So that's just a couple of little fun facts. But let's dive deeper into the pentagram. I'm sure Vicky's got a whole array.
I had a lot of very similar things with you as well, and I think that's actually how this topic came about. Is that we were talking about how it has actually kind of been construed a little bit in
absolutely.
Popular culture and things like that. So we wanted to kind of clear that up a little bit, in that it is actually a symbol of protection. It's a symbol of, like you said, the elements and spirit all coming together. I use it personally as a really quick and easy protection, like a visualization. As a really quick and easy protection thing. I think I mentioned it in one of our other ones, where I'll just visualize the pentagrams all the way around me. And when I'm doing that one, I always start at earth. So it's actually drawing the earth banishing pentagram.
Yes, which is what they call is it called the lesser banishing pentagram of earth or something? The formal name?
I'm not sure.
Could be. Okay.
Oh, no, because that's a whole full ritual in itself as well. The lesser banishing of the pentagram. Yeah. Okay. That's got a whole other part in there as well, which you do draw them. But yeah, they are that. So it's drawing it from if you're looking at the pentagram, it's the bottom left.
Yeah, bottom left
up.
Top, and then down, and you keep going.
Across, and you keep going. And that's the other thing with it, is that it's a continuous line. It's that one continuous line. It doesn't stop. So there's also that interconnectedness between all of the different points as well, because it's that continual. It doesn't have a beginning or an ending. So yeah, so then there's, as you know, if you want to go into it deeper, there's invoking and banishing pentagrams, just depending on where you start when you're drawing them for what you want to be doing. But as a general kind of protection, that's what we're talking about, protection symbol, it's usually that earth banishing one, so starting at the bottom left. It's been around for many years, like it's even been seen in ancient Babylonia, Chinese and Japanese, various times throughout history. So it's not necessarily a modern symbol. It's just a modern one that's been taken on.
But then it's also, I guess, in a more modern practices, a lot of, well, obviously when the whole burning times happened, when basically, guys, if you don't know your history about the rise of Christianity and the fall of paganism in Europe, and then also in the Americas, it's really important as a witch that you do your research about that. In actual fact, we're planning on doing an episode in February of next year. Reason why we chose February is because that's the anniversary of the burning times. They basically started from February through to May. So at the start of the burning times, we're going to honor them by talking about the burning times. But if you don't want to wait till February, do your research as a good little witch. It's important to honor our ancestors, whether they be of blood or of the heart. But basically, during the rise of Christianity, the easiest way to replace the old gods, as they were referred to back then, with the new God, which is what Judeo-Christian Abrahamic traditions call God with a capital G, was to basically turn all of our gods into demons and to call our practices satanic or devil worship, which if you're a witch, we don't
it's actually not a part of it.
No, we don't even have a devil. Like we don't actually have any figure that represents a devil in our paradigm. So it's like basically they just said it's devil worship. They turned it upside down on its point, which is actually correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the upside down inverted pentagram, that's a second degree witchcraft?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just a second degree witchcraft.
Yeah, symbol. And it's more to do with spirit as well, like as in you're calling in spirit. So whether you're from the lower worlds or you're calling in that spirit from above and things as well. So that was the other thing. An inverted pentagram has kind of been demonized a little bit as well. I mean, I know, I believe that it is one of the symbols for the Church of Satan, I think. And I think that's where a lot of the connotation of it all kind of sort of came as well.
Bit of that, not a fun fact as such, but I was doing some research about satanic practices ritually. Just so guys, just so you're clear, I'm not a Satanist. Just I want to say that. So therefore, anything I say is only from what I've read or heard. I don't know this as gospel, but from what I've heard or read is that the Satanic Church or the Church of Satan actually, it's kind of a way of taking their power back. So because of the fact that the pentagram was used by the church as a symbol of Satan, that's the only reason why they adopted it. But then to kind of, my understanding of Satanism is it's not actually, they don't worship a devil. They're actually atheist, but they use the image of Satan as it represents their mentality or their philosophy, which is basically the opposite of the church.
Yeah.
So it's actually not about Satan being a devil that we're
the god kind of thing, for want of a better word.
Satanic practices is basically just to do with it's more so, I believe it's more so about self, and it's about life, and it's about choice, and it's about freedom, as opposed to being that one I got from Sabrina. But it's true, like that's based on Satanism. So as in the New Adventures of Sabrina, not the original. Not the Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But yeah, so my understanding is that it's basically all about freedom and choice, and not having this all-knowing, all-seeing God that tells you what to do with your life. It's about, no, I'm my own person. I believe even that they say that I am God and God is me. Like, it's not that God is separate to me. It's that we are all God and in charge of our life. Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff. But anyway, I've digressed. We're not talking about Satanism.
Okay. We love a good tangent. That's fine.
But yeah, so the pentagram was inverted, and they often said the way that the church did it was that they said that the point at the bottom was the chin of the goat, and then you had the 2 points going out to the side. Actually, let me just invert this so you can see. So the 2 points here were supposed to be its ears,
and then the horns.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be that sort of goat head or something.
Yeah, but even that in itself, like, not that we're going to go too far into that, but it's actually a way of them vilifying Baphomet.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So it's about creating that. Again, it's all about creating that. It's all a demon. It's all the bad part of it all. So,
because Baphomet isn't actually a demon either. It's actually half human, half goat, half male, half female.
It's the ultimate kind of symbol, I guess, of balance, of like everything, the dualities of everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's a very, in a nutshell, version of the
Yeah.
pentagram. But then from the pentagram, we can then go to one more layer, which is the pentacle. So I was just holding one up. So this is a pentacle. What
Yes.
is the difference? Is that the pentacle just has a circle around the pentagram?
Yeah.
So
the pentagram is just the 5-pointed star. The
Mhm.
pentacle is with the circle around it.
And it's very common. Like, I mean, I'm wearing one here around my
Yeah.
neck. I've also got one that's attached to this. I'm holding up a
On a
piece of
necklace.
jewelry. It's a point of black tourmaline, no, black obsidian, sorry, and then it's got a little pentacle attached to it.
Beautiful.
Of course, it's black obsidian. Why would it be tourmaline?
I was about to say, and I mean, as jewelry and things like that, it is more often that you've seen it's actually a pentacle, not
Yeah.
a pentagram.
Whereas a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm wearing a pentagram." No, it's a pentacle.
No, it's a pentacle.
If it has a circle, a pentagram,
Yep.
it is not.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
That is true. Yes. I mean, well, you are wearing a pentagram within a circle, but it's still called a pentacle.
Yes.
Oh,
when you've
and
got the tooth as well.
I also have this on. Hang on, I'm going to take it off my
look
thumb.
at it. It's all show and tell today. He's
I've
lots
got
of
my.
stuff.
I've also got my ring because it's common for witches. Hang on, let me just put it here. No, it's not. Doesn't want to zoom in. Anyway, it's basically another pentacle on a ring that I wear on my hand sometimes.
Yeah, and
I
that's
usually
another common one.
I usually only wear it during ritual work, but I put it on today because of what we're talking about.
We're talking about everything, so why not?
Yes.
Perfect.
And so it's funny because this is, as a kid, I used to draw pentagrams like I would just sit there drawing
too.
pentagrams all the time, and I would always draw the banishing earth pentagrams.
Yep.
Like that's how I always just naturally drew them.
Yeah.
No idea that I was doing them. No idea what
Yes.
it meant. It was just something I did when I was doodling on paper in class.
Yep.
And the amount of times I drew pentagrams on my because it was just a thing that I did to doodle.
Yeah, it's just it's funny. I used to do the same thing, and it was just, I guess it was just a star when we were doing it.
So I used to do them on everything, but I didn't know that it was like associated with, well, that the church thought it was associated with devil.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I used to draw them on everything. And when I was in religious studies at school, I got sent to the priest's office.
Did you?
Because they thought that I was like actively promoting devil worship, and I'm like, I'm just drawing stars. Like, I had no idea about witchcraft, about Wicca, about anything. I was a little kid. I was like, no joke, probably about, I would have been about 10 years old. It was just before my communion because I was raised Catholic. So like I was about 10 years old. I was just drawing stars because to me it was just, I like stars.
Yeah, why not?
So yeah, anyway.
Wow, that's really interesting though that you actually got
I got sent to the priest's office. And I had to go, and the priest made me do reconciliation.
Oh, wow.
He believed that I was like harboring some form of like demonic thoughts or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was so confused at why I was in the priest's office in the first instance. But then he's like fully interrogating me about my thoughts. And he kept trying to tell me that I was, manifesting the devil's work and all this kind of stuff.
You were like possessed or something.
Like,
You've got something happening there.
Oh, it just just makes me laugh. But funny that, because I also in soccer, I actually barracked for a team called Red Star Belgrade, or Crvena Zvezda from Belgrade. And so their symbol is a red star. And so it's like literally everything that I do, everything that I'm attracted to is
always with stars.
Star oriented. It's just what it is. Oh, and here's a fun fact. My signature, the way I sign my name, because I don't sign with Darren.
You do too.
I sign with Majeri, and I actually sign it in Cyrillic letters. And the way that we do a D, because it's almost like it's like a triangle with two little legs. So the way I draw it, I actually draw it like a pentagram. So it's actually a D, but I've hit the pentagram in my signature.
In there. Oh, I love that.
It was my way of kind of incorporating the witchy into my day-to-day. So every time I sign my name, I don't just sign my name. I'm projecting an intention that this is my word, and my word cannot be like manipulated by whatever I'm signing.
Yeah.
Like, so that's my way of just putting like,
I love that.
My witchy stamp of approval.
That is so cool. I love that.
Did you actually notice it on my signature?
I did. When you said it then, I just suddenly remembered it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has a little.
Yeah.
So
cool. So then from there, we could go to the
hexagram.
The hexagram.
So the hexagram, which is for Jewish people would refer to it as the Star of David.
Yep.
I don't have one here because one, I'm not Jewish, and two, I don't actually. Oh, one of my other T-shirts has this. I've worn that
Oh, you
before.
got that one.
Okay, so the Star of David, which is basically a normal. It's two isosceles triangles.
Oh, look at you going with the big words.
Well, isosceles is
Isosceles
it's an
triangle.
equal armed
Equal arms.
triangle.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, so one is pointing up and the other one is pointing down, and they overlap each other. So if you look at the flag of Israel, you'll see it on there.
Yeah.
So the Star of David, what that actually represents, because the arrow pointing up means as above, and the arrow pointing down means so below. So all people who have read about witchcraft or Wicca or any of these topics will know the phrase as above, so below, which basically means that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and anything we do in the physical is also done in the spiritual, and anything we send out to the spiritual will manifest. Like, it's that whole connection of spiritual,
it's that interconnectedness. I guess so within, so without. It's all of those different sort of terminologies.
Exactly. So for those that didn't know, in actual fact, in that star, you have actually got the 4 alchemical symbols for the 4 elements. So obviously the upward pointing triangle is the symbol for fire. Then if you incorporate the horizontal line from the other triangle,
the triangle pointing down,
then that becomes air. Then the downward pointing triangle is water, and the downward pointing triangle with a line horizontally through the end of it is earth. So if you look at it, it actually overlays all 4 of those symbols.
Of them. Yeah.
Then for those who follow Eastern philosophy, will know that that's often the symbol of the heart chakra, which represents balance and unconditional love. And they say that it's representative of the celestial sphere and the 6 magical planets, being Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. I don't know how that represents that. That's just what I've researched, guys. I couldn't fact check every fact because I would have been researching this for days.
That's it. And it is used a lot in I think it's in a lot of Aleister Crowley's work and things like that, in this more ceremonial magic and things like that. There's a lot of rituals around the, like we mentioned, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. There's also a hexagram version of that as well, which he uses. Also unicursals, which is the same way of doing it. Looks a little bit different. It's still a 6-pointed star, but it's a way of doing it in one continuous line, like a pentagram.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I didn't actually even think to research this one either, but then I also know that some people use the septagram.
Yeah.
Especially those that are interested in it's the fairy realm or the fae. Is it the septagram? It's the elven star.
Yeah, for some it's the elven star, so it's a 7-pointed.
Which is continuous with 7 points.
Yeah, that keeps going.
Awesome. So well, now that we're going on that kind of semi-religious route,
we mentioned
temporarily. So this is a fun fact that most people didn't know, is that there are actually some witches that still use the Christian cross in order for protection, and they use it as part of their ritual work, because it's, especially if you're thinking of the realms of like Santeria, which is the like from the Caribbean and Mexico and stuff like that. Santeria, it's like that form of, it's not brujeria. Brujeria is witchcraft, but Santeria is like a fusion between honoring the saints and witchcraft together. It's almost like a similar to, I guess you would say, hoodoo practices.
Yeah, there's that similarity.
But some of them use also a cross as well. A lot of places that had ancient practices that were then colonized by Christians kept the cross, because in actual fact, most people don't know that the cross started as a pagan symbol.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Do you know more about
that's what you find with a lot of like symbols, or even the festivals and things like that. It was an easier way of trying to bring a new religion into a place by kind of incorporating some of their customs and things like that into it. So without going into it too much, that's where like a lot of our Sabbats and things like that, there's that crossover there as well. So the cross was actually in there. So there's the equal armed cross, was probably more the pagan sort of side of things, which was the equal armed cross.
I'm holding one up here.
Holding it up. It's sometimes also called a solar cross, or even it's also sometimes known as Odin's cross as well. It's
Mhm.
usually, it's either the equal armed cross, and often now it's usually got a circle around it. So it's a bit kind of like the pentagram and pentacle.
Yeah, which is what
Kind of,
some people call that one the Earth cross, because it's supposed to
yeah,
represent the 4 compass directions, which is also the 4 elements as well.
yeah,
So the Earth cross, actually, there's a lot of synergy between the Christian cross,
yeah,
the equal armed cross, the Celtic cross, the Earth cross, Odin's cross, and the Orthodox cross. Like they've all got a very common thread, or even the
yeah,
Maltese cross. All
yeah,
those crosses, the Templars cross, they all represent the same thing.
yeah. There's a lot of
Well, they all came
similarities.
from the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
And it's actually just going back to your previous point about the whole thing of like Christianity, obviously taking lots of practices and changing them.
Mm,
As a coach, I do this with my clients. So it's like if you try to change everything, you will be faced with nothing but resistance because the brain
correct.
doesn't
Yeah.
like change.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I'll give this to the rise of Christianity. They were smart
Yeah,
because
that's
they
right.
they knew that if they changed everything, they would be
Correct.
filled with resistance, and then no one would follow the path of Christ.
Yeah.
But if they change little things,
And you
just
just
change
kind of,
one at a time, slightly
yeah,
amend it, slightly alter it, then the brain doesn't recognize that change is upon them, so the
yeah,
brain is more open to it.
that's right. That's it.
It's that
It's the
whole trim
little
tab.
things. Yeah,
Going back
yeah,
to
that's right.
David's
It's those
point.
little things that change it. Like you've got Bridget and this and Saint Bridget, and there's lots of little things like that where they just kind of just snuck in little things to do it. And that's it. It's exactly it. Like you said, it would have been too much of a resistance if it's too different.
Well, on that note, like, and this is something I brought up in the broom closet episode, I still wear my cross.
Yeah, you do. That's right.
I still wear my cross. And for me, like it's like I wear my cross as a symbol of the god, and I
Yeah.
wear my pentagram as a symbol of the goddess. Like that's to me. Well, actually,
Ah,
sorry, I
I
lie.
like that.
Sorry, no. The cross is a symbol of the god. My triquetra, which I'm wearing here, is
Yes.
actually the symbol of the goddess, and my pentagram is a symbol of all encompassing everything.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's kind of like a happy medium.
Yeah. Somewhere in between, it's kind
Yeah,
of brought everything in together.
yeah. It's kind of like it's kind of everything.
Yeah.
Oh no, but I do use the pentagram for the goddess as well. Doesn't matter. I digress. It doesn't. It's
It's
irrelevant.
okay. We've got
It's
the
semantics.
similarities. So yeah. So with the solar cross, it's often sort of associated either with the elements or the seasons of the year as well. So it's a bit more about that cyclic nature of the solar wheel. So it's a bit more on the solar side of things. Anything to do with 4. Yeah, that's pretty much.
And for those that haven't been watching on YouTube, so before I was holding up when she was talking about it, is I've got they call this a God's eye.
Yes.
A
Yep.
God's eye. So we used to make them in primary school, and this is the thing. It's so funny. In primary school, we always made them with paddle pop sticks.
Yes, paddle pop
Like
sticks
paddle pop
and wool.
sticks and wool. And it's funny because like who knew that my primary school was teaching me pagan practices?
Yeah, that's right.
Because
Like God's eyes go through, that's another one all in its own as well that has a lot of symbology in it and is in a lot of different cultures and
yeah,
things like that.
because I remember making them like crazy as a kid, and once I learned how to make, I was making them constantly at home. My parents just thought
different
it's
colors.
some cute little craft activity, and then me growing up is like, if only I knew that I was actually like.
That's it.
I wonder if it was a strategic initiative by the school.
Could have been. Who
Maybe
knew?
there was a witch at my school and I didn't even know.
Didn't know. Who knows?
Anyways.
But see, that's the other thing though, a lot of those sort of things, because it does come from like folklore and folk traditions and things like that. So there is still sometimes those underlying currents of things within that has a pagan precursor, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, because everything started from something, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
right.
there's no new symbol that exists now that hasn't
No.
existed before. They've all been borrowed
Yeah.
and adapted and evolved and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you'll see that as we go throughout today.
Yeah.
That you'll see that there's so much synergy between all the different cultures and stuff. So from the cross, I guess the most natural progression then, one thing that's called the Egyptian cross is actually what we would these days call the Ankh.
Yes.
Ankh. Well, people say Ankh or Ankh,
Ankh.
but it's actually Ankh.
Ankh.
It's got a sound.
Oh, see?
It's Ankh.
Ankh.
Ankh. Yep.
Ankh.
So it's a Ankh, which is basically so the easiest way to describe it is it's a teardrop upside down. So the point is at the bottom, and then it's resting on a T.
Yeah.
Is the easiest way to describe
Yeah.
it. If you're trying to get a visual for those listening. So
Kind of looks like a person with no legs.
sort of, yeah, sort of.
Got arms and
So there's several theories about the Ankh.
Yeah.
Basically, from my research, they've said that the circle is or the teardrop is symbolic of Isis, which is the mother,
Yep.
the divine mother, and that the T is the symbol of Osiris, which is the father. Now, if you look at just basic symbology just on those two alone, the
Yeah.
T could be representative of the phallic object or the penis, whereas the circle or the teardrop is symbolic of the female genitalia. So it's like that whole T going into, which is why it has a connotation with the symbol of life and fertility.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like giving you that, because the horizontal line, it's almost like you've got the stick going into the hole, but it's the horizontal line is bringing focus to that point where they intersect.
Yeah, where they intersect.
So it's that point of intersection or that point of creation.
Yeah.
Which is where that essentially comes from. I sometimes wear an Ankh because I'm very much into the Egyptian mythology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was gifted one by my old psychic development teacher.
Oh wow!
And so I occasionally wear it.
Yep.
But I really want to go to Egypt and get like a legit one from from an Egyptian. I mean, when I say legit, it's going to come from some little shuk market thing on the side of the road. But like, I mean, from Egypt, not like
it's come from
not
Egypt,
a cast, not what they call it, cast resin one or whatever. Like, yeah. Because I think it's cool. It's got so much mystery in the Ankh symbol, and plus
and there's a lot of mystery around the symbol as well. A lot.
I mean, there's all of Egyptology is speculation.
Yeah.
Like we don't know.
I love it.
We guess based on
and that's it.
Science and mathematics and stuff. But then there's a lot of theories saying that the Egyptians and their knowledge base far outweighs ours now.
Yeah, that's right.
Like it's easy for us to say, "Oh, we're the civilized race," and they were the peasantry. But I'm sorry, how the fuck did they make the pyramids?
I know. Isn't that still just like one of the most amazing things? Like even just if you look at the pyramids, there's all sorts.
The sacred geometry. And
a lot of like Newgrange and things like that through the UK and all these other places that were Neolithic kind of things that were built, and it's like we can't even really replicate it.
Or even Stonehenge, like
like all of those things. Like
those stones are not from there.
No, like it's just amazing. Like all of that stuff. There's so much we don't know, which is just.
I wish there was like a way that we could just like. I mean, obviously
just a little peek
through like past life regression work, you can do that. But it's like even to that, like I want to be able to go back and see it in its existence.
Yeah.
How it happened, when it happened, what it looked like in its peak.
Yeah.
Like all of these things. So then we could come back to today and go, this is actually how we did it. We're actually dumb idiots in comparison to our ancestors.
I know.
Because unfortunately, I believe, I know I've got off on a tangent, but I actually believe that one of our biggest things that we have to learn to get over is that we think that we're this advanced supreme race now. But in actual fact, our ancestors were far more superior than we'll ever be.
Yeah. I mean, you can just... it really is like we keep striving for more and more and more and more and more, but then in a way, are we then losing some of that knowledge and like that actual not humanity, but losing some of that really good stuff?
Exactly. Well, talking about ancient civilizations, the next one that I'd like to go to, now I don't have the Hamsa here itself. However, you can see here that this is what some people call the evil eye. Now, common misconception. This thing itself is not the evil eye.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
It's to ward off the evil eye.
Yes.
So
it's usually blue, isn't it? It's usually blue. So
it's usually blue. So it actually has a lot of connections to the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra.
Yeah.
So that also comes from Egyptian philosophy or Egyptian mythology. So the Eye of Horus, I believe now, again, I haven't fact checked this, but from memory, I'm just digging through my Rolodex of info. I'm pretty sure that the Eye of Horus is pictured one direction and the Eye of Ra is actually the other direction. Like, I'm pretty damn certain that.
Yeah, it depends on which way they are.
I
didn't realize that.
I'm pretty sure the Eye of Horus is like, it's the right eye because the nose and then it's the right eye. I'm pretty sure. And I think the Eye of Ra, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Eye of Ra is the other way round. But again, I apologize if I've said wrong information. Don't take my word as gospel. That's just what I thought I read somewhere. So what that was all representative of, because Horus was the son of Isis and Osiris.
Yeah.
And Horus's eyes were considered the sun and the moon. And they're said to be a great, he was said to be a great protector and a avenging warrior god.
Yeah.
So hence why his eye is used as a symbol of protection. I know I was talking about this and then I've jumped to the Eye of Horus, but that's where they say that's where this eye, the concept of the eye came from, because the eye, the evil eye, or the concept of the Hamsa, which is basically the right hand outstretched with the eyes usually in the center of the palm.
In the palm.
So the Hamsa is actually for Middle Eastern and Maghrebi. So Maghreb is the Moroccan region, like North Africa.
Yep.
So the Maghreb. So it's always an open right hand with the palm facing out, and it's to ward off the evil eye for protection. The word Hamsa actually means 5 in Arabic. So again, we've got this connection to the word, the number 5.
Number 5.
And they actually say that it's also called the the hand of Fatima. So the actual Hamsa is called the hand of Fatima, and Fatima was the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. So but let me just tell you about the origin though, because obviously the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad is very Abrahamic, because obviously it's the Arab or Muslim culture.
Yeah.
But they say, so for the Levantine Arabs, so Levantine is essentially like Palestine, Syria, Lebanon. So basically the Christianized Arabs, they will call it the Eye of Mary, or the Eye of Miriam, or the Eye of the Goddess. Oh, sorry, the hand of Mary, hand of Miriam, hand of the Goddess, not the eye, the hand. Hand. But they actually say that you can trace the roots back to ancient Mesopotamia, which is current day Iraq. And it goes all the way through to ancient, is it Carthage or Carthage? I don't know how you pronounce it.
I don't know
Carthage.
How you say, yeah, I'm not Carthage. Very good. You know me, I'm not very good with my pronunciation.
well, that's modern day Tunisia. So it's basically from the Mashriq, which is that Gulf, above the Gulf, like the Levantine region, all the way down through North Africa across to Tunisia.
Yeah.
So in Mesopotamia, it was actually has connections to Ishtar and Inanna.
Yeah.
It was a symbol of fertility and pregnancy, which is why the hand of Mary or hand of Fatima is often used mainly for women, because it was supposed to protect women and their children through pregnancy and birth. It's also a symbol of power, strength, and blessing. And there's a phrase in Arabic that you sometimes say, which is Khamsa wa Khamis, which means 5 with Thursday. So it's basically the two words, Khamsa and Khamis, but Khamis means Thursday. And that's supposed to be something that they chant to ward off the evil eye.
Okay.
And they say that you can also hold up your hand at someone to bind the aggressor. So if you go to Arab places, like if you go on a trip and you see people going like this at someone, it's actually them, like because it's quite customary for them to hold their hand up at you when you're being aggressive. It's not a sign of aggression back. That's actually them putting their hand out because it's them to bind the aggressor. They're basically doing that is like warding you off.
And isn't that interesting? Because like just in general terms as well, like that kind of means stop.
It means stop, but it also, you know, when you say to someone, talk to the hand, like
that's right.
It's actually customary for us to put our hand up and go no, and you put your hand up in their face. So it's not considered an aggressive thing to do in Arab-speaking places.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, for those who don't know, the evil eye is actually a malicious stare believed to cause illness, death, or general unluckiness. So they say that the evil eye is often called like a jealousy thing. So it's like they believe, or people believe, that the way you get it is if you've been through a lot of success, and if you don't do the right things. Like it's actually very common in the Romani culture as well, Romani or Tsigani culture. So it's that whole thing of if you're very successful, and you have a friend who's awfully jealous of you, that they could give you the evil eye. And so there's obviously practices that you can do to remove yourself of it, which is very common in all of Europe and the Middle East and the Mediterranean. And in Jewish culture, because that's the thing, people don't realize that the Hamsa, even though it's people associate with Arab culture, it's
Yeah.
also in Jewish culture as well. In actual fact, you see this symbol everywhere in Israel.
Yeah.
And they have a phrase that they say, which is Hamsa, 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 tfu, tfu, tfu. So tfu is supposed to mimic the sound of spitting. So,
Ah,
which I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if you know
yeah.
much about like Greek culture, they spit on you
Yes.
during your wedding and stuff to ward off evil spirits.
Yeah.
So as we say, Hamsa, 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 tu, tu, tu. So I know I've just given you guys a massive cultural
Oh
lesson.
my gosh, I love this.
Can you tell that this is like one of my favorite symbols?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So which one's your fave? There we go.
I actually love the Hamsa and the Eye of Fatima. I have several bracelets. I wore a necklace a few
Yep.
episodes ago, which is a feather that has the eye in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And like if I could, and my husband wasn't so what's the word?
Aesthetics.
Yeah, if he wasn't so particular, I guess,
Yeah,
or
particular, I guess.
reserved in
Yeah.
his like
Yeah.
I'm a bit more out there. I would literally have tiles with this in like my bathroom or like, because I just love even just the colors of it.
Because usually it's very like it's all the different blues.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's
So
usually got
usually
a
it has
darker blue on the outside
and then
and
turquoise in the middle, and it's got
yeah.
some white in there because it's supposed to look like an
Yeah.
eye. Like it's
Yeah.
the same thing with peacock feathers. I love peacock feathers because they have those eyes all over them.
Yeah, that's the
And
same
then
thing.
just to throw another layer onto this whole thing, if you look up the peacock and what that meant to the Arabs and even the ancient Mesopotamians and Sumerians and stuff, that was connected to a lot of their gods as well, which then brings us back to, because, what's his name? Malek? No.
I'm trying to think of the name. I can't think.
Is it Tal Malek? Anyway, I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually Tommy was telling me about this particular god or deity. And so that god or deity is another one that has been given it's been demonized basically by the church. But in actual fact, a lot of Luciferianism or fairy traditions come from the worship of this deity.
Yeah.
So it's like we've gone full circle.
Yeah, that's it. It does, doesn't it? It seems to come around. It all
everything
comes
comes around.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say about the Hamsa.
Beautiful. So you did mention the Thor's Day or Thursday.
Thursday, yes.
Thursday, which is often thought of as originally Thor's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So one symbol that you will see around quite a bit is Thor's hammer or Mjolnir. I'm not very good at Mjolnir. No.
Mjolnir.
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 See, he's the one that does the pronunciation.
I do the languages.
You do the language stuff.
Yeah.
You do the language stuff. So that's often quite a big one. It kind of, I guess, if you could try to describe it, it almost looks a little bit like an anchor when you're actually just looking at it, and it's usually got a lot of knotwork and things like that on there. So it was associated with Thor throughout Norse mythology and through Norse culture. Yeah.
For those watching on YouTube, I'm just holding up a picture of it.
Yep.
I mean, there's various different versions, but that's
there's a lot of different versions, and I think one of the more common ones is kind of it's a little bit more curved at the bottom, a little bit. So it's a form of protection and security from violent forces. A lot to do with the battle because Thor was a protector god as well, so he was a protector. So it's about kind of harnessing that power a little bit.
Specifically, the champion and protector of common man.
Yeah, he was for the common people. He wasn't for the high ups. So that's why he's probably quite well known throughout cultures and things like that as well. As that.
And guys, if you don't know who Thor is, then it means you're living under a rock because
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. I'm like, hello, like
yes.
Every witch should watch the Marvel series just so to know, especially if you watch the Thor video.
Yeah, there's the actual Thor. There's the Thor series.
Because then you get to know Asgard and the Aesir and all that kind of stuff. So which I actually really love. I love that.
Me too. I do love
that Marvel has put all of that in there because it's exactly how I pictured it to look.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that they got it spot on?
Yeah.
But is there something behind that as well? Who knows?
Oh, maybe we're tapping into a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is what I mean is that the more people, but then, okay. I know we're going off another tangent.
We're going on another tangent again.
But the more that people think about certain symbols, and the more that people do all these like, journeys to different places, and like they're doing astral traveling, traveling, blah, blah, blah. Can't talk today. Astral traveling and whatnot. I wonder whether, like, because how do you know? Are we tapping into a super conscious? Are we tapping into a collective consciousness? Are we just, we've seen it somewhere and didn't realize because it was buried in our subconscious, and then we've gone there, we've accessed it, but we didn't know that we actually saw it somewhere? Like, how do we know? We don't know. Like,
we don't.
We don't know where it comes from. So I embrace the philosophy that we're all sharing a collective consciousness, and that we have a,
we can tap into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can tap into it.
Well, while we're on that note of talking about the Vikings, the next one we're going to talk about is the Valknut.
The Valknut.
Valknut, which I have right here.
Which is the 3 interlaced triangles.
Yes. So it's basically, there's several ways you can draw it. One of them is where it's the 3 triangles that are connected like the pentagram with one line.
Yeah.
And they don't end. Whereas this one that I've got on, I'm actually holding up, guys, it's actually a piece of Norwegian rabbit fur. And it has the Valknut painted on the inside. But this whole symbol, I completely forgot to research this one. It has another name. I'll Google it while we're talking about the other symbols, and I'll come back to it. But so the Valknut is just this, the triangles in the center, the 3 interlocking triangles. And that's representative.
Around the outside, it's got all the runes.
All the runes, yeah. So the Valknut is supposed to be, it's connected to Odin, but it's also connected to the Triskele, the Triskelion, the triple knots, the triple spiral, the 3 legs. So it's anytime you see anything in the number 3 or the Triquetra as well, which we'll come to, it's this one. It's usually to do with either land, sea, and sky, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Maiden, Mother, Crone, past, present, future. Like, it's anything that's in 3s.
Yeah, it has a lot of them also, and especially this one particularly has a lot to do with sort of that death, the transition and rebirth. So birth, death, rebirth as well, because in one of them, I think it's a Norwegian translation, not of those fallen in battle.
Yes, I have that exact same quote written on my page. Not of those fallen in battle.
Yeah, because Odin was also associated with battle and war as well. So.
Well, because Odin's for lack of a better term, he's like entourage were the Valkyries.
Yes.
So the Valkyries used to take the souls of the men who died honorably in battle to Valhalla. And so oftentimes you'll see the Valknut on like drawings or on etchings or carvings or whatnot. And it's usually you'll see Odin with the Valknut or the Valkyries or representative of horses or ravens, which is the symbols of Odin, especially if it's a 8-legged horse. Is 8?
Yes, it's 8-legged. Yeah,
8-legged horse.
Sleipnir. I don't know how to say it properly, but it was his horse. But it was his horse that had 8 legs that he could travel through the worlds. Yes. I'm not saying it.
Okay. I'll look up the name of the other symbol while we're doing some more of this kind of talking. But
yes.
So that brings us to, because we've got the Triskelion, the Triskele, the 3 legs, all those kinds of symbols.
We can go to those ones.
Yeah. I only have stuff about the Triquetra because I realized I didn't really find much on the Triskele or Triskelion.
Well, a lot of them, it's all very similar. There is a lot of similarities. So you'll see the Triskelion or the Tristicle, the triple spiral, which I've got tattooed on my wrist. So it's 3 spirals coming out from one point. It's found throughout, not just in Celtic culture and things like that. It's found throughout the whole of pretty much ancient culture. It's in every different space as well. It's sometimes the legs, as you mentioned before, the bent legs. It can be 3 legs coming out. So it was also throughout Hellenistic period in Greece as well. But yeah, so the 3 spirals. So for me, again, it's that 3. It's like we were talking about with Odin, Maiden, Mother, Crone, Earth, Sea, Sky, birth, death, rebirth, physical, spiritual, and celestial is also another one. Past, present, and future. So it's often associated with that eternal life kind of aspect to it, with the birth, death, and rebirth. For me, that was what it was. It was to do with those kind of things, but then it was also because my little family is myself, my husband, and my daughter. So that was the we can always spiral out on our own paths, but we all come from the same center. So that was the meaning behind it for me. But yeah, that's what it's usually associated. Again, it's those three, everything to do with the three.
Awesome. I can't find the name of it. I think it's just a Valknut with the runes around it, but I don't like. That's all of them keep saying the same thing.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
Creation, protection, and destruction is another one.
Yes, exactly. And then if we bring it to more specifically, the one that we've got here on my t-shirt or around my neck, which is the Triquetra. So for those that aren't looking visually, just think of the symbol that you think of when you think of the TV series Charmed.
I know,
the original.
Yeah.
So it's basically, essentially what it is it's 3 arcs that are kind of twisted in a way that they become an endless kind of movement.
Yeah, it's almost like a triangle, but it's like they're in a triangle shape, but it's using all the curved.
So the whole concept of any of these triple figures is basically to confuse and bind harmful energies. So they say it's since that the like any harmful energies or harmful spirits or whatnot, they can't easily follow a pattern or path. They kind of get lost in the knotwork. Is the I guess philosophy behind it. The one that I'm wearing on my t-shirt, the charm symbol is, or the Triquetra as it's called, is often representative of the triple goddess. Yeah. So the whole maiden, mother, crone. Yeah. So a lot of a lot of people who are practicing, like, I guess, neo-paganism that focuses on the triple goddess will opt for the Triquetra over the pentacle because of the fact that it's got that strong goddess energy to it. Which is why a lot of Charmed, like the story behind Charmed and that whole, it's all about the three women and all that kind of stuff is very prevalent. I myself love this symbol. It's another one that I draw on just about everything.
And it's another one that it's, again, because it is that knotwork as well, that it has no beginning and no end.
And there's all different ways you can draw it. Like I've seen this one drawn, the actual Triquetra itself, not with the circle around it, but just the Triquetra. I've seen it drawn like in 4 different directions. So it ends up turning into a equal armed cross or a Celtic cross. A little fancy like, or I've seen it that's interwoven with each other. So then it's like one endless knot that just whole thing just keeps going and all that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of cool.
It is. It's beautiful.
Personally.
And it's one of those ones that you will see that one quite a bit. That's around a lot of places. But then, like I said, it's been found in so many different places. European, Neolithic and Bronze Age.
Sorry about that, guys. We just had a couple of little technical difficulties, which are now sorted. So we were talking about the Triquetra, and just before Vicky gives us a little bit of history about it, I wanted to show you like another symbol that, another version of the Triquetra that I have, which is actually on one of my tarot bags. So it's like to protect my tarot from any negative influences or whatnot.
Which is beautiful.
Which is cute. Like I'm just trying to show you guys that, these symbols appear on so many things.
And you will see them a lot on like tarot bags and all sorts of things. They're around everywhere.
Where else would we see them, Vicky?
Well, back in history, let's go back to where we were. It was seen a lot through the Hellenistic period in Greece, and also through European, Neolithic and Bronze Age in the Celtic sort of regions and the Celtic traditions. And it's found at Newgrange, which is the burial mound, the ancient Neolithic burial mound. And it's on some of the really big rocks that are at the very beginning at the entrance. So there's still what's it all mean? But yeah, that's what it is. And that's the space where at the winter solstice, when the sun rises, it lights up the whole of the passageways.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they can't recreate that.
Yeah, see, this is what I know we already touched on these ancient civilizations and these cultures and stuff already, but like, I just wish we could see it, like how it was back then. Like, I know I already said this, but just
because it's just the angle. Yeah, it's the complete angle that's on for the solstice.
And I'm like, what did they know that we don't know? Like, because we have these big, powerful computers and and we can't even predict some of that shit. Like,
no, that's right. And so it's all through there. So it's amazing. I just find it completely amazing.
Well, there's two different directions we can go from here, because
Yes.
on one hand, I was thinking, oh, wait, we were talking about Nordic. We probably could have touched runes then,
We
but maybe
could
we'll
have.
circle back to it, because while we're on the
Yeah, the kind of dot.
Celtics,
Yep.
yeah, we'll stay on the because there's another one is that the Ogham. So the Ogham, which is the Ogham alphabet, basically it's a Celtic symbol system associated with trees. So it's used both for divination and communication, and as some modern scholars argue, a calendar as well. And certain Ogham are used for protection. So you could basically turn them into like amulets for protection, or like write them on
Yep.
things. So the ones for those watching on YouTube, there's some in the book that I've got here. But for those that aren't watching on YouTube, who you can either go to YouTube, watch our
Yep.
video, but
Have a
don't
look.
forget to click like and subscribe and the notifications for all future episodes.
Correct.
But it's basically the specific letters associated with birch, rowan, hawthorn, oak, holly, fir, aspen, and yew are supposed to be the protective
Yep.
Ogham. If you look at them, they all look very similar. Yeah, they've
See,
got.
I don't work too much with the Ogham. I haven't done a lot with it
I
myself.
haven't done a lot with them either, but it intrigues
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, me too. Me
And
too.
I actually used to have a team leader. She's probably not going to be listening to this show because I haven't seen her in at least 15, no, maybe, 15 years.
Yeah.
But my team leader was actually a druid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was working the call
That's
center, and
exciting.
like her name, wait, what was her name? Is it?
It's okay.
Was it
We
Shelley
shouldn't
or was
say
it
anyway.
Sharon? No, that's okay. No, I won't say full name. Was it?
Yeah.
I think it was either Shelley or Sharon. Maybe it was Sharon, and she was a druid, and she actually like
That's
very
awesome.
eccentric lady. Always had like
Yeah.
lots of jewelry. Like I'm wearing a lot of jewelry, but she was wearing a lot of jewelry.
A lot
And
of
she had
jewelry.
like those kind of coats that have like the fur around the collar and down the here and around the
Oh,
bottom.
yeah.
She would always wear one of those. It was always in like bright purple or bright red, or
Yeah.
like really out there eccentric kind of character. And she was actually teaching me bits about Ogham, that because symbolic of the way you draw it, you could put like your fingers, and you can do like spell things on your arm just by tapping fingers on your.
Because for those who haven't really seen it, it's a lot to do with like a single line, and then there's little lines that go across it. So you've got like a vertical and then horizontal lines, and the different positioning of those horizontal lines denotes which one it is.
Yeah. So like she used to say that
That's really
you
cool
can
that
spell,
you could do it with you could do it on
or
your
something.
arm.
I don't know. I'm not a
cool.
druid. I don't claim to be a druid. That's just what I heard.
Because it is an alphabet as well, like a
it is an alphabet, but then it's kind of like the runes in that every character has a meaning, but then it has a symbology, but then it has a letter, but then it has a use,
layers. There's
and you
so
can
many
write stuff
layers.
in it.
So many layers.
So moving then on to runes, Vicky, I'm going to hold up my rabbit skin again.
Yes,
and
you can have all of that.
By the way, for anyone that's vegan or as an animal activist or whatever, just to let you know, I purchased this at Elfheim, and it has been ethically sourced. It's actually sourced in from overseas and then sent over. So this rabbit was not slaughtered for the purposes of my entertainment or my ritual. No, it was not. It was ethically sourced and then just preserved and whatnot. So just in case, so don't judge witches. Be witches, not bitches. Okay,
that's it. Do the witching and the bitchin.
But I'll hold this up here while you talk about the runes, because that's pretty.
It is. It is. Yes. So runes. There's 3 in particular that are great for protection, and there's sort of the same with Ogham. With runes, you can either use them individually. You can create a bind rune, which I guess, for want of a better word, looks a little bit like a sigil, where you add the 3 symbols in together to create something. So the 3 that are usually often associated with protection is Thoras. I'm not going to be very good with the pronunciation, but that's okay. I'll put pictures up of them later. So it's that's often translated as thorn. So it's the one that looks like it's a vertical line, and it basically looks like it's got a little thorn coming out of it. Iwas, which is a little bit kind of looks like a lightning strike, I guess, for want of a better word. And then algiz, which looks like a tree almost. with a long vertical line, and then the branches at the top. So those three are really great for protection. Again, you can either use them individually if you want to, or you can combine them to create a bind rune. So if you're using them together, it's actually a little bit more balanced, because it balances their energies a little bit more, because you've got the attack, the support through others, and then also the kind of shielding or hiding from fear. So algae, which is the one that looks like a tree, is for protection. It was often associated with marshes or even the oak trees and things like that.
This one
Yeah,
here.
it's got them all there. Yeah. So it's a good one. It's a protect without attack. So it's a great one to place around your house. It's like you're hidden from passing danger, or that barrier that people can't cross. So that one's a bit more of a defensive, I guess, for want of a better word. It's a bit more of a defensive one, whereas the other two are a bit more forceful and a bit more on sort of the attack.
This
So
one's Iwas here, the lightning
yep,
strike, and this one is Thurias.
Thurias. Perfect. So both those are a little bit more forceful. So Thurias is the hedge of thorns, so that the intruders must get through all the thorns to get there. There could also be a random hammer thrown at them on their way through, kind of thing. So it's that attack. It's a bit more for of the attack. And say with Iwas is the warriors standing ready to go. So you can draw them on yourself, on your house, doorways,
Draw them on yourself.
Draw them on yourself. Well, it's quite a popular thing to get tattoos and things like that. But if you are going to get a runic tattoo or something, please do your research before, because like I said, they all do have a very different energy. So if you are looking, that's why you have those three there together, because they balance each other out. You've got a couple of really forceful energies, but then you've got one that's a bit more tones it down a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say that, like, just to echo that, with any tattoo, not just of runes, but any tattoo
anything.
do your research, guys.
Yes.
Just know what symbol you're putting on your body, because it's forever.
Yeah. And they do have energies of their own. And you've got to make sure that that's the energy that you want to have.
In actual fact, so that brings me to an interesting thing. Because did you have any more to say about the runes?
No, that's probably a nice, without getting too deep into it.
Yeah.
Into it all.
We will probably do a specific episode just on runes at a later date. And we'll dive into them a lot more, because I personally love them. I think they look amazing. And here's a fun fact for you. So my culture, my ethnic culture, where on my mother's side, which is actually Hungarian. So the Hungarians actually have got a runic alphabet that predates the Elder Futhark.
Wow.
That's a fun fact for you.
I love that.
But it's one because the Huns, or the Magyar tribe, it's said that their alphabet or their system of writing was like so old, because they're one of the oldest tribes that settled in the European Carpathian Basin. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Again, I can't fact check this, because we only know so much about history.
Yeah, that's it. There's only so much we're ever really going to know, and then history is also just from somebody's personal point of view.
It's usually the point of view of the ones who won.
Yeah, that's right.
So like a lot of the stuff from Attila the Hun, basically, because I've got some T-shirts that I got from Hungary, from Budapest, or Budapest as everyone calls it, it's Budapest. And they have got like the horsemen, basically. So Attila the Hun was on a horse, and it's got all this stuff written in the Hungarian runes underneath it. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. Because I was attracted to runes, didn't actually know why. But then I realized, like, I'm not actually Scandinavian per se. I'm actually Hungarian, but we had runes as well.
They had a version as well.
A slightly different version. But yes, on that note, with tattoos, for those that can, oh, yes. Hang on.
Okay, so I'm just putting one up now.
What's it called again?
So this is, I have no idea how to say it properly at all. Algish Jalmor. I have no idea how to say it. I will put it all up underneath so we can have a look at it. So this is one that's often tattooed on people, and it's a big protection one. And for me, I'm like, just be a little bit careful about what it's actually doing. So the story behind it is that it's a really powerful bind rune, that it actually incorporates all of the runes. So it has the power of all of the runes. But it also it's known as the Helmet of Terror, or the Helmet of Awe. So it's a really strong protection. But it's also about refers to the wearer becoming invincible and undefeatable rather than being alluring. So just make sure that you do want that on there. So
Yeah, because a lot of people have that one tattooed on them.
they do. And it's as a protection, which it is, but it was a protection in battle. But what it was actually was for was that it made you so scary that the other people didn't want to come near you, kind of thing. Like it's that a little bit of that berserker kind of energy.
Say berserker energy.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that berserker energy, and it's about harnessing the power of all 24 runes. So you're thinking about their power on their own. It's basically to inspire terror, really. That's basically what it's to do, so that you so that people don't come near you. So that does protect you because they're not going to come near you. So there's a little visual fun fact for you.
I like that one. And that one has a lot of
there's a lot to do with that one.
Between the Helm of Awe, and then there's also the Vegvisir.
Yep.
Vegvisir, which is like slightly different. I've only got it on my phone, just showing an example. So that one's again a very similar concept, but it's got all these little arms that have different endings on them. I don't know much about it, but I believe that it is actually another one. That one's intended to help the bearer find their way through rough weather. So it's not so much about protection. That one's more about wayfinding or whatnot.
Yeah.
But they're very, very similar in their thing. But what I was going to say about tattoos is, because as you guys know, I mean, this is going to be hard for me to show, but I have my tattoo. I might post it in the comments just so you guys get a clearer image, because having it on this weird angle on a camera is not really ideal.
Doesn't really work, does it?
But so what I've actually done on my tattoo is I've got a pentagram, I've got a tree of life, I've got the triquetra within a heart. Then I've got the dream catcher, and then I've got the 4 alchemical symbols for the elements, and then some tiki masks. So the whole concept of this is supposed to be protection, 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 protection. So for me, this is my version of protection symbol.
Yeah.
Like it's basically things can only come in or only welcomed in if they're not going to harm me.
Yeah.
So do no harm.
Yeah.
And if they're in alignment with my will, which is for me the pentagram, knowledge, which is the tree of knowledge, my passion, which is the heart or the triquetra, and my dreams. So for me, it's very much, it's like I've got multiple layers over my...
Yeah, I love it. It's very symbolic.
Yeah, or another way of saying it is, in order for dreams to come true, you need willpower, knowledge, and passion.
Yeah.
So many different ways I can dissect it. Yeah, but so I'm a big fan of protection magic or protection symbols. And what some people don't know is the whole time I was getting this tattooed, I was actually listening to a lot of like magical chanting music.
So I was kind of adding to it as well.
And I was kind of spacing out in a trance. Because I mean, one way to elicit trance is through pain, which is why BDSM culture is so big.
Yeah.
Because it's that whole trance state. People think that it's all about bondage, about being whipped, but it's actually about entering a state of trance through pain. And no, guys, I'm not into BDSM. I'm just saying, just a point of reference. But because like for me, when I'm getting a tattoo, I have to trance the fuck out because I don't do pain. So for me, I just kind of allow the pain to happen and until it like kind of numbs my brain, and then I go into this like semi-conscious state.
Yep.
So I listen to like a lot of meditative music or stuff that is that kind of trancey. But I was doing that while she was drawing the rune.
While you're getting it done.
So then I'm like kind of putting that energy into it. So for me, this is like a big, it's like I'm flipping the finger at evil spirits.
Anything that wants to come near you.
They're not welcome. They're not welcome.
Ow.
So I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but ways that you can use these symbols, as we said, you can draw them on protective, like you can draw them on things. You can have them embroidered onto things like tarot bags. You can make little god's eyes, like the little equal arm cross like I've got here. I've also, you've seen them in the background before, I've made some pentagrams out of cinnamon sticks that I hang around my home to like, ward off evil. You can
make them into talismans.
You can print them on things like you can talismans.
And like when I was saying, you can even draw it on a piece of paper and carry it on you, or pop it in your pocket or whatever, just depending on what you want to use it for.
So if you're not someone who's familiar with symbols, then hopefully we've given you enough of a start.
Yep. Just a bit of an overview.
As you know, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg. So do your research, and hopefully this has inspired you to look into some symbols, and let us know in the comments, what are the symbols that you're attracted to? Like what protection symbols do you use the most? And if there's any symbols that you want us to look into in future episodes, let us know.
Definitely. Or any questions, if you've got any particular questions or topics and things like that, please let us know.
Awesome. And so for those who are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. And to let you guys know, in the next couple of episodes, we've got a next episode coming out on Saturday is going to be all about magical herbs. So we're going to be doing a Herbs 101. And next week, you'll have to tune in for our very special Magical Daily Practices episode. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you real soon. Ciao, ciao.
Okay. Bye.